camera. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for my man, Chris Ryan.
Hey everyone, I'm Chris Rogers. So that's a little sneak peek of my biggest passion project of this year with my buddy Max. That was one athlete. He's a professional wakeboarder from the Netherlands, and as you can tell, he absolutely kills it on a snowboard as well. So I said, let's make the craziest edits of taking one athlete and putting them in two different environments. And it was supposed to be a quick 2-week project, and it's turned into this crazy 5-month passion project with a lot of highs and lows. But to get into what we're talking about today, everything that was, all the equipment I used to shoot that video fits in this bag, which is pretty cool nowadays, but as you can see, it's all here. But the other cool thing is it also just fits in my pocket. And what I'm here to speak to you guys about today is that you don't need all the fancy gear. You don't need a 1D, you don't need a Red, you don't need the Sony A7 Mark II. You can shoot it with, a $350 camera, a smartphone. The quality is that good. It's not about what you got. It's not the size that matter. It's what you can do with it. And that's what I wanted to speak to you guys about today. A lot of you here, I'm assuming, are aspiring creators. So put your hand up if you consider yourself an aspiring creator, want to get into this line of work. All right. Put your hands down. Put your hands up if you wish you had a better camera or better gear. Okay, a few hands are going up. So for me, when I started out, I couldn't afford any of the fancy gear, and I've always been in the action sports industry. I was always into surfing, and that's where GoPro. Sorry, I'm trying to not make this seem like a GoPro advertisement. But I literally shoot 95% of everything with a GoPro. I bought my first Sony last year just for higher quality vlog scenes. And what I find is a lot of people who comment on videos and whatnot go like, oh, I wish I could do this, but I can't afford the expensive equipment. I can't afford this. And what I've come to realize is all I did was buy a GoPro, and from then on, all the other money that I managed to save or make from the odd job here or there, I saved that, and I spent it on production. When I say I spent it on production, I spent it on traveling. And every time I went on a traveling trip, I took my GoPro with and documented my adventures and whatever it may be, and I made a video out of that. And somehow I got pretty lucky that those videos would end up somehow making me more money, in the sense of, I would go capture some surfing overseas, and then the company comes up to me and is like, hey, we really like your holiday video. Can we buy the footage from you? Can we license it from you? And it kind of just snowballed into what it is today. And now I get to work with athletes like Max in amazing locations, which is an absolute trip to even think about it. So what I tell people nowadays is when they go like, oh, I can't afford a 1D, whatever, like, you don't need a 1D. If you're shooting for I know people who are literally like massive influencers. They take photos just for Instagram, literally just posing next to amazing locations, and they have a 1D. I'm like, what do you need a 1D for? You're jumping, you're not doing triple backflips, you're not shooting fast-moving cars, you're literally just posing, and you post on Instagram. If you're shooting higher production stuff, sure, maybe you need a 1D, but you could do it with an iPhone. Rather, and I tell people this, don't save up to buy the best gear to only be able to shoot the birds in your backyard. Rather spend a fraction of that on a decent camera and spend the rest on production. Invest in yourself. Go traveling, go do something crazy, go spend it on production so that what you're capturing is amazing, not having something extremely mediocre in the highest quality. Rather get something amazing in semi-decent quality. I've shot TV commercials and music videos with a freaking GoPro, and I'm friendly with a lot of tech, YouTubers and tech guys. And like, oh, the new Canon 90D doesn't have 24 frames per second. I was just like, okay, like, cool. I mean, I understand that from like a professional side, like, cool, 24 frames per second. That's like industry standards. Like, the average viewer on social media content doesn't care. The difference between going viral and not going viral, I can tell you, is not 24 frames per second. And it's not having a 1D. Most viral video clips are shot on a phone or a GoPro or a cheap camera. That's why they're usually pretty mediocre quality. I honestly don't even know many viral video clips that are shot on a Red or a Phantom or that expensive equipment. Usually it's just something amazing that happens and the person just happens to be there with their phone and capture the moments. The best camera is the one you have on you. Moving on, also, gear is not necessarily going to get you the job. I know on the bigger scale, more traditional commercial projects, like we're talking big TV scale ads, multi-million-dollar campaigns, yes, you are expected to probably have a Red or a Phantom or a Alexa. But if you are creative enough and you are well known enough for your concept, that's going to get you the job. It's what you have in your portfolio, not like flexing all this amazing gear. And yeah, that just goes back to what I personally believe, that the story or concept is more powerful than having the best gear. Like I said, if you're filming something mediocre in 8K, that's great. If you're filming something unbelievable in 1080, it's going to do better. And lastly, having limited gear, I found for me, having always shot with an action camera, it really forces you to be creative. I would always have a GoPro in my pocket, and it's a 170-degree wide angle. There's no zoom, no nothing. So it always forced me to immerse myself in the action. When I was in college, I shot a lot of festival after movies. That's how I originally generated income. Best student job ever, by the way, getting paid to party. Oh my goodness. And a lot of other people shooting videos there would have these, really big cameras, 1Ds, Sonys with these zoom lenses, and they could shoot from a distance. I couldn't. I had a GoPro. It's a wide-angle lens. I had to jump in the crowd, get in the DJ's face, immerse myself in action, which I love. You get the best experience out of it. And it's probably one of the main reasons why I've stuck with this camera is like, I love action sports. I love snowboarding, I love wakeboarding, I love surfing. I love doing that. I don't want to sit on the beach with a long lens filming someone surfing. And when I film surf trips, I probably surf just as much as the athlete. The only time I'm not surfing is when I'm flying the drone. Drone batteries are dead, cool. I'm in the water, I'm putting the cameras on the athlete, making them do the work. I'm just babysitting them, and I get to surf. Don't tell anyone, but like you really get the full experience. It forces you to immerse yourself, and it forces you to be creative. If you're limited, it's going to push yourself to be creative. So, speaking of being creative, there's this company called Air Video. They make these little torpedo things, and they call themselves the poor man's drone. They cost about $80. You put your GoPro in it, and you throw it like a torpedo. And it creates a really amazing shot. And I've used it on a bunch of videos lately, so I'm going to show you guys a few shots. And I haven't seen anything like it before. A $300 camera and a $80 accessory, and you get this. So, as you can tell, it's a very immersive shot. It's kind of like those new FPV racing drones, except you don't require the hours and skills of being able to fly those drones. You literally put the GoPro in and just flip and huck it at someone, and you get some pretty amazing shots. So having limited gear, not having access to the dream equipment that you might want, can actually end up pushing you to think outside the box and be creative. There's an amazing clip which I wanted to play. I didn't have time to download it, but it's a professional skier, and he puts his iPhone in this device and swings it around him, and it creates this matrix effect as he's skiing down the mountain. It was an extremely viral video about 2 years ago, but it's a great concept with basic gear and a simple idea that's well executed. So another thing when it comes to having limited gear, I am a big believer of investing in yourself, and it's a lot of the guys have already spoken about it today, but for me, when I was starting out and shooting music festivals and saving money to travel, I was taking a risk in the sense of, like, I wasn't saving up for a holiday. I was saving up to do a trip that most people would see as a holiday, but I was waking up every day at sunrise, filming the whole day, finishing at sunset, getting back to the place we were staying at, editing the whole night. My other friends were on holiday, but I was investing in myself that, like, okay, cool, I've saved up all this money to do a trip, and one of the first ones I did was a wakeboarding trip to the Philippines. I think it was back in 2015. And it was a lot of fun, but I was like, all right, I love action sports. Like I said, I love surfing, wakeboarding, snowboarding, but I wasn't getting paid to do it. I was getting paid to shoot festivals, but I didn't want that. I wanted to get paid to do the thing I loved most. So I invested in it. I saved up the money, went to the Philippines, and produced 2 videos from there with college mates of mine who were really good athletes. Made the videos, wasn't expecting anything. It was something I wanted to do for myself, something I wanted to add to my portfolio. Uploaded the videos to YouTube. One ended up getting almost 2 million views, and GoPro reached out to me. This was before I was on their ambassador team. And they said, hey, we love your video. We've got this awards program. We'll pay you to take that content and upload it on our YouTube channel. And they paid me twice the amount I spent on going to the Philippines. And I was just like, wow, I just technically made money on a trip that I wasn't even expecting to make money on, or even a profit or make money back. And I was like, okay, I'm going to take that money that I just got paid and invest in another trip. So I'd always loved snowboarding, and for me, coming from the southern tip of Africa, there's not much snow there. So I spent that money spending a season in Italy shooting snowboarding to add that to my portfolio. Shot with a really good Italian skier, and also wasn't expecting anything, but I knew, I'd kind of seen what had happened in the Philippines and go, okay, maybe we can repeat that with snowboarding and snow skiing. 6 months later, I had a snowboard company out of Sweden go, hey, we saw your video in Italy, can you come film for us next season? And now I get paid to snowboard, which is an absolute mind trip to even think that that's part of my job. So when I say invest in yourself, think about something that you've always dreamed of doing, and take the risk and save up to do it. But also be clever about it, because if you don't make money back on it or it doesn't work out, you got to be satisfied that you did whatever you chose to do. Whatever experience it may be. Maybe you've always dreamed of going to Nepal, or visiting the Arctic, or going to Iceland. So you need to be willing to invest in it, and if it doesn't work out, you got to tick something off your bucket list. You go like, oh my gosh, I got to go to Iceland. I've always dreamed of going to Iceland. Like, yes, maybe the content didn't work out, maybe your camera broke, maybe something went wrong, but at least you have the satisfaction of saving up to do something and tick something off your bucket list if it doesn't work out. So take calculated risks. A lot of guys have mentioned calculated risks, and it just kind of goes back to, are you willing to spend money on whatever you want to shoot without necessarily making it back? And it also goes, are you going to have amazing experience? You don't want to get stuck going, all right, what can I do that's really popular or going to go viral? I don't believe that's the right mindset. I believe going viral is a byproduct. It should never be the main goal of your project. Your main goal should be to do something you really, really want to do, because then you're going to be stoked on it. You're going to be really amped to go out and capture amazing content, and you're going to have a fun time. You're going to be, if you don't see the viral video come out of it, at least you got to have a really epic time, and you will be more satisfied with that. Going viral is the bonus. It's like, oh my goodness, how did this happen? And then obviously, be smart about it. Work out what it's going to cost you, budget it. But yeah, like Sean was saying earlier, don't just quit everything and jump deep end and start. Start bridging a gap while you can. And then another thing is make sure it's contributing to the portfolio you want to build. I know a lot of people get stuck in creating content they're not passionate about, but it goes viral, it pays the bills, but it doesn't light that fire for them. And I think a lot of people end up getting stuck in that. I know I've been guilty of that, and festival videos always did well for me, and travel content, and travel content has always done really well for me. That's what really, I would say, grew my social media, but I've always loved action sports, so now I've tried to combine the two. It's like, cool, I'm gonna go traveling and have a travel video, but it's going to be very extreme sports orientated, because at the end of the day, extreme sports are not very relatable. Not many people wakeboard, not many people surf, not many people snowboard. It's a very niche and small community. So how do we make it more relatable? We go traveling. Everyone can travel. Not everyone can be a ridiculously stupid athlete, hucking themselves off 40-meter jumps. By the way, Max broke his wrist on our last day of filming snowboarding, so as much fun as the teaser looked like, it was a pretty grueling experience. And this kind of leads to, create the content you want to get paid to create. Like I said, there are a lot of people out there, a lot of big creators who, are maybe doing tech reviews or comedy skits, but they really want to be doing travel content or documentaries. But they blew up because they made a certain type of content, and at the end of the day, that does pay the bills, and it's what's going to drive the most amount of traffic. But as just the biggest piece of advice I can give for people starting out is work out what is the content you want to make money from. What is the content that you love to make? Not is it going to pay you a bunch of money, or you're going to make a lot of money from it, because then you're going to make, it's great having all the money in the world, but if you're not happy, then what's the point? So think about what really motivates you to capture content. If you love hiking, or you love running, or you love scuba diving, free diving, go film that and make the best possible video you can out of whatever activity or whatever you enjoy shooting. And yes, it might not pay the bills in the beginning, but it's going to add to your portfolio, and you make one good video in that niche that you choose, next thing it blows up, and you've got every company that you ever dreamed of working for in that category reaching out to you going, hey, we want you to do something like that. We'll send you wherever, or we'll send you product and we'll pay you to that. So for me, I've invested heavily into the 3 things I enjoy doing the most. Surfing, I'm still trying to tap into a bit more. I'm happy with how I've established myself in sort of wakeboarding and snowboarding, but I'm going to go invest a bit more into working with surfing athletes, because I know as soon as I have that in my portfolio, there's going to be companies reaching out to me about that. So don't chase the money, chase what you are extremely passionate about. And I tell you, it's not going to pay the bills in the beginning, but use the projects that do pay the bills, save that money, and spend it on the thing that, create for yourself. Spend it on the things you're extremely passionate about, because you're going to be satisfied with that. Even if it doesn't go viral, you are going to be satisfied with the project you got to shoot for yourself. And if it does work out, it's going to lead to a lot more opportunities of being paid to create the content that you love. And that's a wrap. If there's any questions, we're running low on time.
Hey Chris, how you doing,
Hey,
man? Where's your favorite destination to do like this type of work? Where's your been?
Oh, this is a question I get a lot. It's so difficult to answer that. I really love the Turks and Caicos. It's an amazing experience, but the one country I always kind of come back to, it's a country that surprised me the most, and that was Sri Lanka. It's an amazing little island just off India. It's extremely beautiful. It's cheap. The locals are probably the friendliest people I've ever met. I really want to go back there. It's kind of how I know Bali is a big travel destination at the moment, and it's become extremely popular. But I tell people that Sri Lanka is how Bali was 10, 15 years ago, before it really, blows up from a tourist perspective. Sri Lanka's really surprised me, really impressed me, but such a difficult question to answer. Yeah.
Hey Chris,
Hey.
can you give us a brief overview of your workflow for editing these kind of travel videos, if at all possible?
I get a lot of inspiration from music, so if I can, it's very difficult to say this nowadays, but if I can find a song, or I hear a song, songs have literally inspired an entire project for me. I hear a song and go like, oh my gosh, that would fit so perfectly for a surfing video or a snowboarding video, and I will literally plan my shot list with the way I hear the music. As far as workflows go, on average I have about 3 to 4 GoPros with me, and I will have a dedicated follow cam, a dedicated mounting cam, like 2 mounting cams on an athlete, and like a behind the scenes camera. So I know like camera 1 is POV, camera 2 is follow, camera 3 is mounted, camera 4 is behind the scenes, and that's how I kind of like sort my workouts. And then as far as the workflow goes, the song has to go first into the timeline, and then I cut that up accordingly to the music. So music is everything, at least for the way I operate.
Give it up for Chris Rogers!